is going on, everybody? We are back with another stream. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. Today has been a rough fucking day. I cannot tell you how bad today was. I wish I could. It's just been a bad. You know what? Before I get into it, let me get my guest in here. Because he needs his own theme song now. Of course, we are talking about the president. Of course.
First of all, I'm not British. Why?
You like that, didn't you?
Why are you? I'm not
Hang on, let me
British.
touch your vibe. Hang on, you're low on
Why
my
are we
side.
playing? What's that? God Saves the Queen, or what is that?
No, the United States.
That's Hail.
President
Oh, that's
theme
Hail.
song. I
That's
looked it up.
Hail to the Chief. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and I said I gotta give him his own theme song. Like I can't just leave my
Yeah, you can give me.
like
You can
that.
give me this. You can give me the theme from Shaft.
You want me to?
That's actually my ringtone. My wife has on a ringtone the theme from Shaft when I call. So that's pretty. That's a pretty cool one.
That's something different. I'm not gonna lie to you. How's your day?
Yeah.
Hopefully better than mine.
Well, it's still going on, but it's been exhausting, but it's been productive. Figure today's training day, is particularly for upper body, so that the result of that workout is actually starting to catch up to me. So I'm starting to feel sort of the delayed onset soreness and everything else starting to kick in. But it's been pretty good. Did some house cleaning today. My wife, she's a little in the quarantine. She had the CVID, so she's in her last day of quarantine. She'll be out, but she's fine. And so I did a lot of housework. Did some tax prep. I do all my family's taxes. So I did one. I was looking to do a little bit more. So pretty busy day overall. Cook dinner. So it's pretty busy for a Saturday overall. But yeah, this workout is it's like the monkey's getting on my back, and I'm starting to feel it kind of wear me down a little bit. So
I'm not gonna lie, dude.
but other than that, but
Your
it's
day is
it's
better
but
than mine
it's
right now.
what's that?
I can switch any day you want. You can take my day over yours any day. That's how bad mine was today.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm just saying. You asked me how the day was. Like I said, I'm tired, but it's sort of like the good tired, it's productive tired. It's the sort of day that you want to make every day count. And like I said, as soon as I get off this call here, there's some things I got to prep for tomorrow, and so I'll be up for a minute, just taking care of that. So I'm just sort of hanging in my my back office here. My dog is sleeping kind of right next to me. And but as they say, any day above ground is a good day. So good to be here.
100%. So before I get explaining to my day, I want to go over the marketing. Let's get that out of the way. We're streaming from YouTube and Facebook, so give me a thumbs up. Oh hell yeah! If you're with us live, if you want some support, show some love. Catch up is in the bottom. We appreciate it. So this day started rough, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got a text, first cancellation in the morning. All right, it happens. I was bummed. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was bummed because I was really I had this show prepped out. I try to prep my shows out 3 weeks in advance, so I don't have any hiccups.
Right.
And trying to replace a guy, it was hard. It was CQ, and I understand things happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm bummed, but whatever. Then I got one cancel. After one cancel, after the next cancel, everybody was trying to get him. Then King canceled on me. I have nobody tonight.
Yeah.
And you're my saving grace. Seriously, dude. I'm not gonna lie to you. You're like an angel came from above. I need a sound effect for that too, actually. But I know you missed it last night. But so you guys, everybody who doesn't know, I also stream with BMU on the other channel on Fridays on the barbershop. So me and Paul, we've been blessed. I mean, Sarah's blessed. We actually, after the religion episode, we are in the news. No, the Greek news actually. It's a little email. It's not like anything fancy, but to me, it's a big deal. What about you, Paul? What do you think?
No, I was honored to see it. And again, I would like to, if you can send me the link for the actual. I know you sent me like a screenshot of it, but if there's like a link, I probably won't be able to read it because it's in Greek. But
it's all in Greek. Yeah, you have to be a sub to it. That's
yeah. So I have to go to translate or something like that. But
yeah.
But I was honored, and because one of the things that we talked about, and again, I want to save some of this for tomorrow night show, so I don't want to go too much into this, but definitely the tenor of the show and how I wanted it to go. I mean, to get that kind of response or that kind of endorsement, that lets me know we did our jobs, or in terms of how we wanted to, the show to go. So as long as we get that kind of recognition, that does my heart good, and hopefully it's a platform that people will want to visit, or people will know that, hey, it's a safe place to have a conversation, and that's what the gray area is about. It's about finding that common ground and common cause. But it's interesting. Well, like I said, I'm going to save some of this for tomorrow, but yes, very very edifying, getting that kind of recognition, and that for your father Costadino, that he felt welcome and he felt respected in the space. So that's what it's about.
Me and him actually met up. What was it? Again, I want to go over a little more tomorrow, but the brief summary is we met up on, what was it, Wednesday, and we had lunch together, and he could not stop talking about it. He was so happy how it went, very comfortable. He believed the message went out correctly and respectful. That's all he really wanted, and I respect that too.
Exactly. Yeah.
The last thing, I want to drop it. I want to move on to a different conversation. Because I want to leave this for tomorrow. Like I said, guys, tune into this channel or BMU channel. We will be live again tomorrow at 9:30, and we're getting more details. Please, if you have not seen the live stream from last week, from the gray area, please do. And
it's nice too, because I don't know. I've said for the first time I've been seeing it only this year, but it's good that for other content creators that they're able to sort of simulcast their channels along with BMU's channel or other channels. I think I'm seeing a lot more sort of cross collaboration, and it's good to see that everybody can, everyone helps everybody. We have the BMU network. Your channel gets recognition for that. So I think it's good that we have a lot of this cross collaboration, and people can benefit from helping one another.
So let's touch base on that. Before we touch base on that, I want to finish my statement really fast. From all the other episodes on BMU, I got pump my ego up a little bit in this one. For both of us, our muscles a little bit here. We're the only one who made it in newspapers, so see to them. Oh, serious inside. I think this year it's been around for a while. I believe the cost streaming or do streaming, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
But it became more popular now this year and a little bit last year.
Yeah. It's it's definitely something. For some reason, I just noticed it, and I was like, well, I remember people doing this before, but I think everybody was just trying to get, establish their own identity and whatnot. But there's something to be said for collaboration. And I think that is something that in the early days, especially during when we were all locked down, I think people were just trying to form an identity, like what kind of show to do, how can I stick out from everybody else, and so I think there was a learning curve there, I think, for a lot of people. But now I think people they're becoming comfortable. At least they found their voice, they found their identity. Then they can now they don't mind the collaborations or whatnot. But I think everybody initially was trying to jockey for a space to see, how it can be relevant. And but just like anything else, you oftentimes when you work together, you get more done working together than everyone's trying to be their own independent ship. So
for some of you guys, back at the scenes, like the secret room identity stuff we're talking about. So I came up to Paul. Another phone call. We met on a different channel called the BMU, Black Man Unfiltered. Great guy. I can't say anything bad about the guy, except I have a better beard than him. That's the only bad thing I gotta say. Seriously, joking aside, great guy. And me and Paul we just mingled. Really, we have things like, I think the first conversation we had. I'm sorry.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
we were definitely enjoying the show. Like we go back and forth in Messenger.
Yeah,
when a lot of shows were on.
The first conversation we had on the side in the back chat was about martial arts. I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And it just evolved after that. We started talking back and forth, and I started coming up with these ideas. And my brain is always going. I don't ever stop. I always have an idea. I already have another idea for BMU. I'm just ready to pull the trigger when we have time for it, and that's the problem now.
Right.
And and I came up to Paul, like I said, Paul, how about we talk about a show about two different cultures sitting down and have a conversation and actually let all out of the open. He goes, I like it. Maybe not the exact words, but you get the idea. So he has a little better more contact with BMU than I did. He talked to him. We set a meeting. We talked to him, and I told him I can do it. I can come to the table. I just don't have the researchers to actually sit there and actually do the whole tech part, because I already 2 days doing stream. It takes a lot out of you. Homework and stuff like, and you have an idea what we go through about you helping me do the show.
Right.
So, and Paul's biggest thing, he doesn't want to be married to any of this stuff because he does have a real wife and a real life out of here, like I do, just minus the wife part. So we do this for fun. That's what people forget. We do this for fun right now because we enjoy this.
Right.
There's no paycheck. Like this computer right here.
No, it's definitely certainly out of passion, and again, I think it even goes beyond fun for me, especially like I said with the last show. I really think it's I believe in just creating a positive environment, because there's so much smoke out there. A lot of people do, there's a lot of clickbait, and people feed off of conflict and debate and everybody calling everybody else's by besides their names out there. And I'm definitely, I think as I get older in life, it's like I'm less apt for war, if you will. I'm not trying to start issues. I'm not trying to throw gas on issues or whatnot. Let's be about solutions. Let's be about, again, finding, creating a positive environment that that we can be proud of. And I, especially in these spaces, because I live my life pretty open here. I guess a lot of people, I don't have a handle. I don't have an alias. If you look at my LinkedIn, if you look at my Facebook, if you look at my Instagram, if you look at, where I'm at, I'm just myself. And so living publicly like that, certainly, the fact that it's my lifestyle, I don't have to fake anything. And so for me, it's very nice to come in. Now, again, some people are still going to be evil and they're still going to have, bad intent. And there's always risks that come with that. But I just believe in just being transparent in these spaces. And, so it's hopefully, people can use my model example to be like, hey, you don't have to be the baddest person in the room. You don't have to puff yourself up. You don't have to do a lot of things to, try to get clicks or whatever. If people vibe with you, they vibe with you. And if we can grow a community from that, great. But I'll never compromise on, certainly my values and what I think is good and useful content for people over the fan base. You can give me 50,000 members, but if we're putting out junk all the time, then I'm not interested in that. And so, so it's good that we've sort of found a niche that we can operate in that allows us to still be our authentic selves. And I think for me, that's at this point in my life, I think that's a lot more important than anything else.
Now, Paul, over doing all this stuff for what, a year you've been doing this now, almost?
It's probably going on 3. I mean, I met BMU probably in 21. Sometime in 21, he was on Security Boss, okay. And I think he invited me to his channel. So it's probably been since maybe like mid 21. I've been a part of it, but it was just because he asked. And, I was pretty new to me. I had a YouTube page. I would do a lot of like training reviews, or like, I would get a lot of fitness equipment, and I would, give reviews of, different things or whatever, but not, and I did a lot of stuff during COVID because, people were at home. You couldn't get to a gym. People couldn't buy gym equipment. So I did a few videos in terms of how to train from home, or how to, exercise you can do using just common stuff in your house. If you have luggage, if you have bags of groceries, if you have, body weight exercises and things like that, things you could do from the house, given the closure of the gyms and everything. So I was doing that for a minute, but when he invited me on on the platform and just talking about, more social social issues. I took it up, and I enjoyed the content. I enjoyed the what he was creating. And at no point in time did I ever say, okay, yeah, I got to get my channel going. I just like being a guest. Remember that old show Hollywood Squares? I just love being a celebrity guest every week, because I realized that for a lot of guys that, like yourself, who work in the space, coming up with content, having weeks of content available and being consistent with it, coming out every week with with content was important. And at that time, for sure, I just wasn't ready for that. And so, so to me, just being on where, yeah, even though it's a longer show, but, because we're in COVID anyways, like nobody was going out anywhere. It was an opportunity to, express my views and opinions, hear the views and opinions of other people. And it just kind of grew from there. And then as I became more comfortable in the space, folks appreciated what I did. I was being asked to be on other shows. And so, it just kind of grew from there. And, it makes continue to grow in the future. I may have to cut to a point and say, look, I think my schedule is too busy. I can't take on another show. But, but between the Tuesday barbershop, the Wednesday sports show, and the Friday barbershop, and now we have the gray area show, that keeps me pretty, just given my schedule, my work schedule and life schedule, that keeps me pretty preoccupied at the moment. So like I said, I can't see myself taking on another show regularly on the regular. But the times when people ask me to hop on the show, and if I got a minute, yeah, I can drop in for a few and give a little input on whatever the topic is. But yeah, it's
So let me get this right, dude. You're doing Tuesday talk to talk, right?
Yes.
Then
I do Wednesday sports,
Then you jump
then
on
Friday
mine.
barbershop.
Then you jump on mine later on the night.
Jump on mine. Sometimes I'm not committing to you on the regular.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just asking.
But yes, as far as my regular commitments, where you more than likely you're going to see me, it's the Tuesday show, it's the Wednesday show, it's the Friday barbershop, and it's the Sunday gray area. So those are the ones that I've committed to over the course of a week. Everything else is kind of on demand, and then you have your Hangout show here, which I guess I'm a pseudo regular on this one. But outside of that, yeah, I mean that keeps me that keeps me pretty busy. I know last
so the only days off you have from streaming is Fridays, Thursday.
Thursdays, Mondays and Thursdays. But even that, I know R-Pain, he launched the show. And I've been asked sometimes to jump on that one sometimes, but again, I'm not married to it. Like I said, I may listen in as I'm doing something else, and if they're going over something that I may have an input on, I may call in and say, hey, I'll give my 2 cents and then I'll jump off. But yeah, mostly it's Mondays and Thursdays where I don't have anything major going on, which is good for me, because especially with my work schedule these days with the commute and everything, I got to get up pretty early in the mornings and going to work. We just went back to a 4-day work week, whereas before it was like a 3-day, and some people had a 2-day hybrid schedule. Now they want everybody back 4 weeks for collaboration, so they say. But so just with that schedule and the commuting and everything, it's like, yeah, I need to knock just my day off. I need to knock it off by a certain time and just prep for tomorrow. It's like when you come home, it's like you got a couple hours to do something before you realize that you turn around. It's like, yeah, I need to start prepping for tomorrow. So you don't have a lot of downtime, which is certainly one of the things I miss about working remotely, which is odd, because when I started working remotely, the hardest thing was I was, obviously built on going into an office every day. Mm-hmm. And so I thought I needed that. But then I became so adapted to working from home, because, again, most of them in IT. So a lot of our people is spread out over the country and all over the world anyway. So it became a much more natural kind of work style, which is certainly one of the reasons why I was able to be on a lot of content, because I was working from home. I had a longer day. I can get up later. I didn't have to worry about getting up early and commuting and things of that nature. So I had a little extra time. But now, bless you. but now it's like, yeah, I have a pretty demanding kind of schedule, and I need to be make sure I'm ready for that. So that's another reason why I'm not running to gain any additional shows or whatnot. But it's a good mix, and so yeah, but it's enjoyable, and hopefully something that that I can add value to whatever stream or situation I'm on.
So here's the thing with your schedule. Like, if you don't realize, I realized it myself. I was doing the same thing. I was going all those crazy, I was doing the real pressures on Mondays. Then I was doing another one on Tuesday. I can't remember which one I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was doing somebody else's on Wednesday. I was jumping in all these streams I could just to get practice in, to get used to it.
Yeah,
And back
yeah,
and ask some questions, all this stuff. Anyway, people don't realize we have another job too, and get
mm-hmm.
up in the morning. Some of these streams don't end till like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Some of them 4, 5.
Well, especially back in the early days, definitely. Like I would be I'd be watching the stream for a minute, and then I would, like, the next day I would go in and I would go back to see, like, kind of where they left off. I'm like, man, this has been like an 8-hour stream.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, when things were shut down, people just didn't go to sleep.
I remember one time, because I didn't shut down because I worked in health network.
Right.
I'm a cook, so I went straight through COVID. I was that one lucky ones, quote unquote. Anyway, they and I get up one day. I don't remember who it was, and they're still going at it. I was like at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm like,
Yeah.
seriously, you guys are still going? This over? At least the stream started around like 9:30.
Yeah.
The next day already. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Now,
How
it was
can
a
you keep
different world.
talking to
Like
the same people?
yeah. 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 And it was almost like almost seemed counterproductive to a lot of people. Like, because back then, especially, at least what I came in on it, people always talk about relationships and dating and finding a good person and whatnot. It's like, I'm asking some of the ladies, I'm like, how y'all going to find somebody if you if you're on the internet, if you're on this these lives, or who are you talking to, who are you courting, who are you dating, if all your time is being spent here? So unless you were trying to meet your person through one of the people on the live or something, I was like, man, it's like, you're not gonna, your spouse, your future spouse is gonna show up at your doorstep or whatever. So yeah, those early days it was tough, but I think people are starting to realize now that especially with the people's work schedules and whatnot. But it's also, to keep in mind, I mean, everybody's coming. We're both in the Eastern time zone, so I think that makes it a little bit easier for us. The fact that we're on the Eastern time zone, but you got people in Midwest, you got people on the West Coast, we got guys calling in from China. I mean, we got guys all over. So for them, this is for them, it's like, oh, it's still pretty. It's still pretty early for us. But for guys on this side here, it's like, yeah, it's it's 3 a.m. I mean, even the fact last night's show, we kind of went into a bit of an overtime. I can't remember the last time I was actually on the show that long, but yeah, we did like 5.5 hours last night. And
yeah, I tap out usually around 12 because I usually work Saturdays now.
Yeah, exactly. Now
And
for the Tuesday
I
show,
guys,
definitely.
But
yeah,
they have to understand I'm tapping out because I gotta go work. I gotta pay the bills.
Exactly.
They don't
Yeah,
understand.
the Tuesday show, I have a hard stop at midnight, and I think BMU, he knows that. Fridays I'm a bit more open because, like I said, typically Saturdays is a training day. In fact, I moved because my other training day used to be on Wednesday mornings, but because of the show, and now I have to get up even earlier because I need to be up by like 6 a.m. in order to train and get myself together and get to the office by 9. So I moved my training day, and this is leg day. So I moved my leg day to Tuesday morning, which means I got to get to bed Monday. My goal is to get to bed like Monday at 10. I can be in bed by 10 or 10:30 on Monday nights, get up at 6 Tuesday, train, be on the show Tuesday night, and then the rest of this, the week, follows as usual. The sports show isn't bad because that show starts at 8, so we have a hard stop. So again, we stop at 9:30 because there's another show that comes in after that one. So that's cool because of the fact that we have a hard stop. Again, it's a little easier to manage as well.
What show comes
But
after Talk to Talk?
what's that?
What show comes after that one?
No, not on Tuesdays. I'm saying the Wednesday sports show.
Oh, okay.
That one's at right. That one's at 8 Eastern time, and
Yes,
but we
I
don't.
know
But
it
we have a
because
hard stop. Yeah,
yeah,
we have
because
a
I
hard
know
stop. That stops at 9:30.
on Wednesday on his channel, I know he has the sports. What do we guys call it? I'm not sure what the
Correct.
sports is called.
Yeah, one-on-one sports show. Yeah,
One-on-one sports. I know you're definitely one of the guests, I guess.
correct. Yes,
Then it's JT, and he has his whole.
correct.
He's killing that show, bro. If you watch
Yeah,
that stuff,
yeah. And Mandrell, he may come back. I know the married man now, so he may be busy for a while. Making his nest.
yeah, him and
Um,
his husband are busy now.
his husband, chill, man. His wife are busy
Is there,
right now.
I haven't seen pictures. You gotta put the evidence out there, man.
He sent me. He's a very beautiful,
Is she?
very beautiful young lady. Yeah, he
It
called me
happened so
personally.
fast because one minute I know he was single, next minute he was in a relationship, next minute he's married.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to tell. I don't want to tell a story
No, it's not
for
our
him.
business.
But this isn't someone he just met off the street. They did. There's a history there. But I'll let him tell his courtship story. But very nice, beautiful young lady, and yeah, he's a lot of things going on. But again, I'll let him share his story when he feels the right time to do that. But very happy for him.
Again, that's all him. On a side note, Paul, when he told me he was married, I said the same thing to him, like, "Oh, you finally got a man." He goes, he fucking goes to me, seriously, dude. Yeah, everybody knows I bust balls in a day. It's all
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah,
But with him, I'm like, who knows he's coming back, because I know he had a little falling off because of with his sister and everything with the streaming thing.
That's the thing. His sister, she's busy now. Now, keep in mind, it was really nice because again, she was on the shelf for a while because they had that strike, that Screen Actors Guild strike.
That's right.
So she was
No,
on.
wait,
So
that's
she was on.
before they were off it before the strike started.
Yeah. It was off and on. It wasn't. They
I
they were
missed
kind
that.
of
I didn't realize they
sporadic.
were off and on
But I
during that
think
strike.
when the strike was on, I think that's when she was more involved. But once the strike was over, then it was like, there's a lot of work. So she's back on set. She's she's part of different shows and whatnot that she's on. So she's and she's at a point now which it's almost like you got to nail it. You know what I mean? It's like trying to hit your the peak of your career. If you're going to land the major stuff, then now you got to put the grind in.
Yeah.
Because again, there's going to be life after acting also, so you have to be cognizant of that. So especially in that, you got to strike while the iron's hot and take take what they give you.
And again,
So
she made me turn this into a full-time career and become big. You don't know that.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So right. So her coming back is certainly more in question. And again, him with just being married and things he's going to have to do to settling down or whatnot. So that's going to be a minute. So so JT, he's definitely taking that. He's definitely taking that space on Wednesday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And so he has a pretty full schedule. In fact, he's got a show going on tonight with Miss Jenny. She has a show that comes on Saturday nights. And so
I know about that. Really fast before we move on. I wanted to shout out to CQ. He popped his little sneaky head in. Brother, don't worry about it. It happens. But don't worry. King canceled too on me. So both of you son of bitches canceled on me. So you guys are not off the hook yet. I'm coming after you guys. You're going head to head again.
Yeah.
Dude, go back and archive.
I was curious. I was curious about the topic because as far as streaming service, which ones will survive? I didn't know there was a
feedback. So they've been butting heads a little bit. I don't say butting heads. They're just the King and CQ. That's how they are. King thinks Netflix is going to be around forever.
Mm-hmm.
Before this deal I'm going to mention in a minute, I would have agreed with CQ saying they're not going to be around forever. They're only using old contact, repeating over and over and over and over and over. But now they're getting some good deals coming their way. Like they signed up. I don't know how big. I'm not sure about numbers. I'll be honest with you guys. But the WWE, I believe, is Raw. Is going to be streaming on there, not on live TV anymore. So if you want to watch Raw, you have to have Netflix now.
Right.
So that could have saved the company. I know he was listening. I just wanted to see what his opinion, because he is the king of pop culture. I'm not even joking about this. Like, he knows when the comic book came out, everything. I think I'm good. I'm not gonna. I'm okay. I'm okay. But my knowledge is like 1% versus 1,000 of his. Like,
Right.
I can ask him anything. Oh, like, what size is Peter Parker's shoe? He can probably give me that one too. But I
Wow.
am very curious of his opinion. This is one of my questions. But we're gonna reschedule that. So don't worry, things happen in life. And like, I'm not gonna lie
Right.
to you, but I
Right.
was a little bummed. Like, I was really looking forward to this episode.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I mean, obviously, a lot of these platforms, just the state of network television, I think that is certainly in question right now because you have all these streaming services. Um, not only are they creating, unique content,
Mm-hmm.
but they're also playing in the big arenas in terms of sports packages. I know, like Amazon Prime, for example, I know they signed a deal to host boxing, and they in a couple years ago the NFL. So a lot of these streaming services are really starting to get into. They're really starting to get into what used to be offered on mainstream or cable television. So those are the ones that I think are really going to be struggling in the next few years to stay relevant. Cable is definitely just trying to maintain ground, and again, the network television stations, they're having issues as well. So so really that's when's the clock tick out on those guys is going to be pretty interesting. But you're going to get to a point where I know this past year you had even some of the NFL playoffs, which has historically always been on free TV. Some of the playoff games were on either YouTube TV or Amazon or one of those
It was
stations. And
Paramount. I can't pronounce the goddamn name. Paramount had the rights because of that. Here's the thing with some of the streams. Now a lot of them are merging together. Like, you have Peacock and Paramount merging together. They both realize that we cannot do this with the other. I don't want to say it's really a merger, but they're working together. So if you have one, you get the other kind of thing.
right.
So again, that will be a later on episode. I don't know where this is gonna go, but one thing I do know, they're making cable companies are trying to find any way possible to keep you as a customer now.
Yeah, but it's like I said, it's gonna be tough because
Yep.
just like the telephone service, just like Bell or AT&T, and what happened to those companies. It may be the only thing they still have their main bread and butter is going to be internet. I think up to this point, you have the cable companies, you have like Verizon, and there might be like another sort of provider, but that's really what's keeping them in play, because for any of this stuff to be relevant, you still need to get it, you need to be able to carry the signal or the broadband or whatever it is. So I think that's certainly keeping them in the game. But as far as the
here's
packages,
the thing I'm going to push back now.
yeah.
So T-Mobile, for great example, who's your provider for first of all?
For internet, it's Verizon,
Cell phone.
T-Mobile.
Okay, T-Mobile has a thing. I don't know if you've been in the T-Mobile store now. I think it's $20 or $30. You get a box. Jersey, I think it's probably going to work a lot better than where I live in PA. But it's a satellite internet service. I don't know too much about it, but what I do understand of it, it's you pay $30 is unlimited, no bandwidth, tap offs, nothing. They're trying to now. The cell phone companies are dipping into the home internet part of the market too now. We're already doing it on cell phones. Why can't we do it on homes?
Right. Well, I think
there.
with the homes, you have a lot more devices, and I mean, 5G is pretty fast. But when you talk about like home networks, and especially now that you have your TV, you have your security systems, you have like everything sort of like interconnected. So it's not just the bandwidth, but do you have the width to be able to handle all of that content going on at once? Like if I look at my my current setup now, at any time I got like 17 to 20 devices running, especially when everybody's home. So it's being able to handle all that content is not as well as just having it for a single device like a cell phone is one thing.
Yeah.
But how do you make
So
sure that
personally,
you provide it
when
over
I'm not
everything?
home, I have about 6 devices going out at once.
Yeah.
About 5 cameras, plus my streaming service from my mom's TV downstairs.
Right.
And that plays 24/7. She doesn't turn it off. Like I mean,
Right.
I try, when she's falling asleep. Sometimes, like I try to grab the remote, and she like has it like this, and then like it's right under the pillow. Like here's the pillow, and I try to sneak out her hand, and you just that's one of those like
Right.
Miyagi grab. What? Like what?
Yeah.
You just goddamn sleeping.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh, dude, I got a funny story to tell you guys. So last night, I didn't eat all day at work. I was a rough day, so Wawa is literally across the park line of my apartment complex, right?
Mm.
And I got some. You know what? I want. There's a freaking. I just got a sandwich, a little bit of mac and cheese. I put chipotle on mine, so that's fine. It's not. It's okay. It's not spicy enough. So I add more. I add Tabasco sauce on it. I ate it like 1 or 2 bites. I was full. I was done. And I go, oh, the mac and cheese looks good. She takes it. Goes, ah. I'm like, okay, never mind. She hates spicy food. I go, I'm start going upstairs. I'm like sneaking through the door. I'm like, oh crap! Any minute now, it's just she's drinking water like crazy.
Right.
I'm like, she looks at me like, I'm going to fucking kill you, son of a bitch. I'm like, what?
So you like the spicy food, but you like spicy food, but in general, Greek food isn't typically spicy.
Greek is not spicy at all, actually.
Mm.
The most you might have, I don't want to say spicy, has a little kick to it, is the tzatziki sauce for gyro because of the garlic.
Yeah, right.
But it depends how you make it. It really comes down to it. How much garlic you want to put. I put a lot of garlic in mine. Like, to the point you're probably going to kill a vampire, like, from a mile away. Like, again, that's my personal opinion. And that's my opinion.
Right.
But the garlic, the spicy it's not a lot of it. Like, some people might add a little pepper, but now spicy is also getting really popular in Greece too. But I love spicy food. Like I have a chipotle mayonnaise recipe you would die for, brother. I have a buffalo chipotle baked mac and cheese.
Right.
And like I know that's you look at it and like does that make no sense? Like it does.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah. It's in your sauce. That's what it comes down to. Your cheese sauce. How you make your cheese sauce. If you just do the plain Jane way, like a little milk, cheese, whisk it, and it hope it thickens up, it doesn't break on you, yeah, you can get away with it. But I like to take mine to the next level, man.
Right.
Like
I heard that.
I've been doing this for a long time, like my line of work, and like even actually CQ, he's a huge barbecue hot sauce fan. Like he told me he went down to Puerto Rico actually, and he got a case of the sauce. I have never got a chance to try it yet. I'm like, maybe he has something when I go up there. I know he loved it. Like he was literally fighting over his wife for the last drop. He was telling me. I'm like, seriously, like, is that good? Like, yeah, it's that good.
Wow.
Have you ever tried Ghost Reaper hot sauce?
No, I'm not a spicy person. I mean, I can go maybe some Durkee Red Hot or a little Tabasco, but that's it. I am very much.
Here's the thing with spicy, dude.
Not
yeah. I don't go crazy spice like 911 sauce. Remember when that was popular?
Yeah.
I wouldn't touch that. I'm mild. I like to taste my food still. I like having like kick on a little water after a beer, but not too like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I made my
I don't get the fascination with those ghost peppers or whatnot because they got that hot scale, and it gets into like the millions relative to. Because I know there's a show, there was a YouTube show that used to come on where the guy would interview people and they would eat wings. And each, after every kind of conversation, they would come out with another spicier wing. And they would show on the bottom, okay, the pepper that's used, what's like I said, there's a hot rating on the spices or whatever. And the show is about how far can the person go before they start tapping out, being like, oh my gosh, I can't eat anymore or whatever. I think Stone Cold Steve Austin, was able to get to the last round of the show with the, eating like the hottest thing, where someone like Shaquille O'Neal, I think he might have been out like the second or third level. He might have been out of it. So everybody has a different, has a different tolerance there. But yeah, once it gets to the point where you get into those ghost peppers and whatnot. I just can't see how you could, how people can do it and enjoy it. That's the thing. It's one thing to say I can endure it, but like I'm like you, it's like food for me is to be enjoyed and not just to to try to get through. So.
Mikey's saying in the chat, so I'm gonna pull up right now for you guys. I actually see it. It's the show is called Hot Ones.
Yeah,
with a great interview. I seen the interviews and they're actually good, bro.
Mm-hmm.
CQ's right. He has some killer interviews. You know what? Hang on a second. I gotta give props to CQ for a second because he first he made it top #1 on Facebook content creator. So props to him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Second, he needs to give himself some credit too. The interviews on CQ show, his show is called Pop Culture Warrior, Paul. So you know, it's on Tuesday nights.
Okay.
He streams it through Facebook, YouTube, X, and don't know what else. He streams everything pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
His interviews, this guy right here, dude. I thought he was a professional. I looked at him. I'm like, you're gonna forget the little people like me. I'm like this small to this big thing, and now on top, he just got in his first movie. And like I was looking at, yo, dude, give me some autographs. All right, pal. So when you get famous, I can start selling them up one by one. And like he really need to go for it, but I'm convinced him. Don't worry. Me and CQ gonna have that conversation in person in a couple months when I see him. But seriously, like, CQ has some killer interviews. Go check it out, dude. He has some really good. He had Tito on there. He had Asian Colson. He had the Terminator from T2, no, the bad guy, not the good one, obviously, the liquid one. I can't forget his name.
Yeah. Patrick, I think.
He has some great interviews, bro. And he goes,
so what's this channel called? Is it called Pop Culture Warrior? That's the channel?
Check it out.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, it has some great stuff on there. And dude, if you have a few extra dollars that you want to be his Patreon support, do that too because you get some free stuff with it, like a T-shirt, stuff like that. I have the higher tier, but it's worth it because you see some back of the scene stuff too. I'm like, his stuff is good. I'm like, I keep telling him I wish I was at his level one day. I'm working on it, getting there slowly. But
sounds good. Yeah, I just got his channel, so I just subscribed to it. So I'll definitely check it out.
See, there you go, CQ. I got one for you. But he has some dude. Check out his interviews. Like my favorite one. It was CQ. The Tito one was funny actually because I sent a video in and I had it of the corner over there you can't see. I had a plain wall at the time, and I was with my ex still at the time. Back it was like way back when he first started the channel, and I had my bow staff in my hand. I'm asking so where's your favorite weapon to train? And I looked like. I guess you know what mine is, and I was just, kind of be a little funny about it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And he sends it in. And he goes, "Well, my favorite weapon." And he couldn't see it or hear it, so so you had to re-say it. And then he goes, I like ARs. He has like a 1911. I'm like, whoa! Well, this was completely opposite what I was. My question was, I was talking about martial art question.
Right.
Are you into firearms, Paul? I know you're into martial arts.
I'm not, I wouldn't say I'm into martial arts in terms of obviously the films and the discipline of it. I appreciate the conversation on martial arts. I was never in a position to actually study it seriously. I had a good friend of mine back in around 1985, 86. He was into martial arts and he showed me a few things. And again, I've always just been a fan of it, but the commitment, because you realize like anything else, it's not just going to the classes. It's like, if you really want to get good at it, it's the time after class. It's what you learn, really, what you practice in between classes, and then you come to the next class with it. That's important. So I've never had the time to really devote myself to it, and I knew I treated it seriously enough to I respected it enough not to be halfway with it. So that's why I never really engaged in the practice. But just as a topic, as a subject. So I watch on a fairly consistent basis several videos, especially on Bruce Lee, on Jeet Kune Do, on different philosophies when it comes to fighting. I don't know if you ever watched that guy on YouTube, Mr. Master Wong. I don't know if you ever see him.
No.
If you watch Master Wong, he's a pretty big guy out there, but he's a little crazy. But But then they'll be like, they'll have his videos and people have responses to it, and you'll see like the different conversations. It's almost like religion. I mean, it's like people have different philosophies when it comes to different types of martial arts, or who's legitimate or not, or what martial arts are good in certain spaces and whatnot. So I enjoy the dialogue and seeing the conversations and the debates and everything. But as far as devoting myself to it, no, I haven't. I've never studied the martial arts, I think, in earnest with an actual instructor and that sort of thing. And
really? I didn't know that.
another thing is finding somebody, because one thing I know for sure, what I don't want to do, like I didn't want to join like a traditional kind of martial arts school. Like when you talk about, because now one of the peeves I've seen, again, because of my respect for martial arts, a lot of places that you go, they're not really teaching you martial arts. I mean, anytime you see a sign that says Family Karate Center, like for me, that's just a red flag right there, because it's not even about the martial arts. It's about, parents want activities for their kids to do and whatnot. But then you get in there, you buy all the gis and the equipment and everything, and you even see what they're doing over there. It's just, kids just being active. You're not learning the arts. You're doing push-ups and sit-ups and running drills and things of that nature, but you're not really doing anything meaningful. So, hooking up with someone, I know a guy I used to work with, he was into Salat. And he had his professor, or his instructor, was looking for students. He didn't have a mainstream, but he was, always soliciting. So, he tried to get me to go into it. But again, I got 3 young kids at the time, and again, it's just something I couldn't commit myself to.
Mm-hmm.
But I respect the heck out of it, and I certainly respect those who do dedicate their lives to it. But I do see a lot of what's out there in the martial arts area. A lot of it is simply just like a family fitness center, but you're not really learning, certainly not the philosophy or the spirituality or the mindset of what the true martial arts intend. And that's definitely something I've seen enough to be able to recognize, and that's certainly something I wouldn't want to be a part of.
Well, I think it's a perfect time for a little storytelling. The reason I say that is I have a lot of experience in martial arts, and I think I told you this already.
Mm-hmm.
So the martial arts, me, I trained in New York with an instructor called Master Ray Kazaka. He was a little martial arts.
I'm sorry, what discipline was this?
That's what I'm going into right now.
Okay, sure.
So he took it. His father was Japanese and his mother was Chinese. So he took both cultures and combined them. So he came with a style called Kunju. What's Kunju? What was it? Saijutsu and Netjutsu. Pretty much a mixed martial arts from karate and kung fu.
Mm-hmm.
Went up the ranks. His son was one of my best friends growing up. And I remember competing in one of the tournaments, and elbow to illegal strike to the knee, elbow straight, elbow down. My knee went bent completely the other way. The only thing I remember is hitting the mat and screaming. That's all I remember. The video, wow. I saw the videos. Like, it was horrible.
It was pretty gruesome,
yeah. I'm looking back. I want to watch back when I was older. Like, God damn, that's bad. Wait, that's me. Like, that's how bad it was. I was surprised how bad it was. He was banned from that tournament for life because that was how illegal shot. He could have destroyed my knee completely, and he did pretty much. So my knee healed up, got into martial arts again, and the instructor I was working with, he abused my kindness. I was teaching his classes, and he was just giving me $100 a week.
Mm-hmm.
Think how many hours I'm putting in there. I'm putting about 5 hours a night plus my full-time job. That's not
right.
Fair. And he was literally giving me, I'm out of here. I got to take care of, I got to go see my wife. I'm like, seriously, dude? This is your school, not mine.
Right.
Let me ask you a question. As a business owner, don't you think you want to be there at your school if your teacher, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, unless again, you bring on some instructors. I mean, I can certainly get from a business perspective, if you hire the right people to run the business, you don't necessarily need to be there, but that's going to depend on how well your pupils are or the people who you trust to run your business. So I just like with anything else, there's a business hat that you have to wear, And then there's also, the personal hat as far as, the product that you're offering. How much do you want to be involved? I mean, same thing with personal training. I train people, but that's pretty one-on-one. I haven't found anybody yet to say, look, if I'm gonna, let's say if I opened up a gym or opened up a private training studio, and then I wanted some guys to work there, whatnot, they would have to be pretty, because it's my brand at this point. So yeah, until that happens, where I find people who are willing to carry on and represent the brand properly. Yeah, I think I'm gonna still be pretty involved until that happens.
So my thing with him was he knew I'm not good. He dipped out and he was making all the money. And my argument with him all the time was stop pushing the students up, stop pushing the students up. He always tried to push them up, push them up, push them up. And that was my issue, just pushing through the ranks.
Yeah.
So eventually, I said, I'm done. So I ended up, the same time I was actually in a process of trying to not discover, just trying to find work at a time because I was between jobs.
Right.
And I ended up meeting my neighbor at the time. He just moved in the neighborhood. It was like only 3-4 days. He goes, "Hey, no, I'm lying to you." One of my old students goes, "Hey, if you're still interested in work, I can hook you up at Toby Hanna Army Depot." I'm like, they're looking for a karate instructor. They're like, really? For what? Like, just go talk to it. You guys can figure that out. Rest out. Like, and I did. They came me decent. I go, okay, I can do the karate that for $100, $150. That's something that rare nothing till I find something better. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
And Anthony did not like the idea. Didn't give a shit, to be honest with you, because we have no contract. That's how I actually met CQ. Funny story is because I was like doing exercise with the kids. He comes up to me, man, I want to jump in, yada yada. I'm like, you want to learn? He goes, yeah. I'm like, okay, how about we make a deal? Help me teach, and you can learn. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I remember the first test I gave him, I smoked him a little bit. I'm like, I didn't realize I was injured. Like, my bad, dude. Like, but again, it was fun. That's how our bonding, how we became really good friends. Started out like that.
Right.
Anyway, so I left there and opened my school. Went great for a while, and just the economy took a shit and went down. But one thing I was never going to do was push kids because they want to learn. Not to learn.
Yeah.
Just give them a belt. No, you're going to earn that belt. I remember one of the students, mine, like, this is the deal I used to make. If you sign up with me, I want you to, the uniform is free. And the first test is free. And I'm like, really? You're not going to charge me? No, I'm not going to charge you anything. Because if your son doesn't like it, or your daughter, you didn't spend any money. The only thing you spent is the first month. I'm like, really? Yep, that's all. They usually love it in the end. At first, they kick and scream, they don't want to come in there. But once they're having fun, they have a little games towards the end. Oh, they're having fun. But they're working for it. If they're bad, they're not getting another game time. They're just going to work through the whole day. Simple as that.
Right.
But they worked. First, you're going to work before you earn your... It's always work first before you earn your... what's the word for reward in the end, if that makes sense.
Right.
And I was very proud of myself the way I did everything. Like, I see a lot of karate schools. Like, some people are like, "Oh, I'm 3-time 10th degree black belt." How the hell are you 3-time 10th degree black belt? It takes one lifetime to become a master, a grandmaster, by the way. Because 5th, you're a master. 10th, you're a grandmaster. Think about it.
Right.
How is that possible? Because old school internet. You got a certification online. You're not a real instructor then.
Right.
If you didn't earn it and bled for it, not a real instructor. That's the first couple questions I ever asked. It's in grand class I go to. Like, I always thought about going back into it. Even today, schedules never match up. That's my biggest problem because I work nights.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I go, who's your instructor? So-and-so. Okay. I look it up right there in front of them. I ask them where they get you this stuff. How do you teach? I get in detail. They look at me like, they look at each other like, how do you know this? I'm like, I'm a third black belt myself. I just want to learn. Of course, it has to make me sign a.
I'm sorry. You said you're a 3rd degree black belt in your discipline.
Yep.
So when did you start? I don't think we ever talked about that. I know we're saving some of this. I think you said you wanted to have an upcoming show.
Yeah, my father. I was
about
off and on it with it for years when I was younger. The reason I was off on it because I was going, states, Greece, state, Greece, state, Greece kind of thing.
Right.
So I started very young. I remember. Back as I can remember. I can't remember how old. I gotta ask my mom, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were just walking in the neighborhood, like mom and dad walking around the neighborhood with the kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was one place that was thinking. This is the best way I can imagine to you is it was gated house, but it was like an Okinawa house, like a Double Dragon cartoon thing almost. Think of it.
Mm.
And the kids were kicking, screaming. And it was fascinating. It was like my eyes were like against the fence like this, opened. I'm like, wow, that's cool. So Master Ray came out one day. He goes, "Want to come in one day? Let's have fun." My mom said, "No, I'm sorry. My husband, like, I don't ask for money. It's free. Come, just do one class with me. It's not gonna hurt him." So my mom said, "Okay, I'll let him do one." I fell in love with it. My dad came in, started talking to him. He goes, "It's a little pricey." He goes, "Listen, I didn't care about money. I care about my students more." And he goes, "I can see what I can do with break. Let me talk to my wife." His wife was the bookkeeper. He had 5 schools in New York. So he was very happy. The main school where he was in Long Island was his school and his home. So his home was upstairs and his dojo was downstairs. So you understand. And he goes to my father. He worked out at the I'm not sure. I was too young to remember. Again, I'm going to get all the information from my mom and my father. I want to get my ducks in a row when we have that conversation, that speech, that show that day. And most times my dad, paid, we paid. But when I got into high school and I came back, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going back to, Master Ray." I started picking up. He wanted to see if I remember everything he taught me after those years. And I remembered everything.
Yeah. That's
one thing I never dropped. Because I didn't learn martial arts in Greece. Because my grandma. My grandma didn't know what martial art was, really. So I thought it was like, oh, it's boxing. I'm like, no, it's not boxing. 2 different things. But I enjoyed it. Dude, I have a whole dragon tattoo. That's how much I love it.
Right.
It's like, some people love, I don't know, cars, for example. Bible. Martial arts was my thing. I remember watching Bruce Lee movies with my dad. I remember watching The Dragon with my dad when it first came out.
Yeah.
And one of the best Bruce Lee movies, hands down. I don't care. You can argue with me day and night.
Right.
But to me, martial arts was the way of life. That's how much I loved it. Even to this day, I will go back in our heartbeat. I will be in a heartbeat. I would love to learn a different style. Ninjutsu, gunjutsu, kung fu, judo. I want to learn them all. More I learn, the better. That's how you become a real martial artist. Part of my black belt test, it was odd, really, actually. It was me to go to a different school to learn 1 week from the different instructor. I looked at my instructor like, "You're on crack." He goes, "Oh, are you too old to know what the hell is going on?" He goes, "I'm not old. I'm wine. Fine wine." So when he died, he was 85, and he was ripped to the T. He loved training, and I think you can compare to that. So I remember, so I did. I trained for a week. I was at a karate school, nothing special. And it's just like, "You said you know karate." Like no, I said I know martial arts, not karate. Get it right. I went to him. I goes, "Okay, let's spar a little bit. Let's see what you know." I'm like, "Not a good idea." "Why not?" Like, "Just take my word. Not a good idea." I'm like, he starts arguing with me. I'm like, "Okay, sensei, I am doing that out of respect. It's in respect for your dojo and for your student. It's not a good idea. A white belt versus me." He goes, "Oh yeah, let's see what you got, kid." I'm like, "You think you're a little punk, huh?" I'm like, "Excuse me, a little punk?" "Okay, gloves are on now." So one went through round, doing point. It was a 3-point system. He goes, "You're pretty good. All right, let's try another one." I'm like, I went up one after the other till I hit the black belt. Like, then he sparred me. I'm like, "You sure you want to do this?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're exhausted. You're not gonna get me one punch. How much you want to put money on it?" And he goes to me. I go, "I'll put 1,000 on it." "Okay, cool." I didn't have 1,000 on me that day. I didn't have 1,000 in my bank account. So I make sure I got that strike.
Yeah.
So I went for a hook kick. I slipped, but I still nailed it. So I got the point. That's what matters at the end of the day. You looked at me like, that's lucky. Okay, you know what? 1,000 plus free classes for a week. Okay. He goes, "You can't get me twice." Boom. And we're like, all right. He goes, Lane cannot be striked 3 times. He goes to me. Okay, I had a lot. Like the 1,000 plus the week class and dinner tonight on me. I can eat, dude. I want to. You don't want to do that. I can eat. He goes, anywhere you want to go. I like steak. He goes, you guys get a little nervous now. Like, it was a place around the corner from there. It was all you can eat steak buffet, but it was like $100 to get in. So I nailed the point. He goes, I'm gonna be broke when I'm done with you. So I sat over there and started talking. I explained to him what I learned. And go, you're a master race student? Like, yeah. He's a whole buddy of mine. He's cool as hell. You should have told me that from the start. Like, and you should have warned me. That's not fair. I just lost freaking $1,200 because of his ass. I'm like, well, you didn't ask who my instructor was. It's not my fault. But I actually like that about my black belt test. Going to a different instructor, a different school, and learn it. Gives you appreciation of what you learned. And you find the flaws in yours at the same time. Right. Bring something back to it. Think about it. So you boxed for a little bit, didn't you?
Now, I trained with some boxing stuff. I've never been in a ring. I've never laced them up in. I've never been in a combat situation. But boxing training, I love it. I love hitting the heavy bag. I have a speed bag. The ropes. I don't run that much because my joints can't take the running. Like I get these shin splints. So I don't run. But definitely. Again, I'm a lifelong boxing fan. I mean, like I said, I love combat sports, whether it been boxing. Remember when it used to be PKC, kickboxing. Bill Stuplefoot Wallace and Joe Louis and those early guys in the kickboxing era. MMA. Today boxing to this day, professional boxing to this day is still my favorite. Of all the combat sports. I mean, I'm a much bigger boxing fan than a UFC fan in terms of the actual product. Now, so there's a lot more politics in boxing where you don't get the matches that you want to see. I mean, that's one advantage Dana has. He puts on the matches that, he's the man. So he says, okay, look, you're fighting him. That's it. That's settled. But with boxing, you have so many federations and, people, always looking to find the fight to their advantage versus the best fighting the best. But when the best fighting the best do get in the ring, boxing to me is still number one. So you talk about the 80s, Leonard and Hagler and Hearns and Tyson and those great fighters. That's still for me superior to boxing in terms of the things that you remember. And the endeavor of it, but yeah, like I said, so I'm a lifelong fan of combat sports, martial arts, anything competitive on that nature. But as far as me getting into a ring, or anything, first my mom wouldn't let me. That was a big one. It was like, you're not getting into fighting, you're not getting into boxing, you're not getting into any those disciplines. And then in high school, like I said, I played basketball. So that was like a major part of my life. Devoting to that. But no, like I said, I've never had the opportunity nor the time to really sink myself into a martial arts environment to learn any discipline. Is like I said, except for my friend back in '85. He. And again, he wasn't necessarily married to a style. He was like a guy, he was never devoted to like one style. I don't think he got a black belt in anything. But he certainly went from, Ushinru, karate, some kung fu, it was like a sort of a mix of different things. So he was appreciative of it as well. But, he was never one to like I said, to really, lock in. And I think that's something, even looking at him, because once he got out of his teens into his 20s, he kind of fell off from it. And that's the thing. It's like, if you really want to get to, really understand what it's about, I think you have to, literally dedicate a portion of your life to it. You're not going to get there just by, I'll just pick up, pick up something here and pick up something there. That's not to say you can't train. You should learn different styles, and you should learn different principles, but you need to spend some time in each discipline versus just saying, okay, I'll be here today and 3 months later I'm in somewhere else. I mean, it
doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So and again, I respect. Yeah.
Little secret about martial arts people don't understand. You can get a black belt in a year or two very easily. Now to get advanced, to get the detail, the juicy stuff, is in black belt. First degree, second degree, or not really first degree, second degree and up. For between second and fifth, that's the juicy stuff. From fifth to 10th, it's more phone timing, like tuning the car kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
because even with those higher ranks, it's not even physical at that point, right? Or is it?
Not really. You're teaching mostly.
Yeah.
So
like I said, then you're getting more into the philosophical.
Yeah. So
more so than the physical.
Yeah. When Master Ray was starting to teach me stuff on the side with my black belt level stuff, and he goes, this, we just have to fine tune you now. So, and he used to drive me. He was one of the hardest instructors I ever had. I had some other instructors after him. He's number one. Like, I remember he had little springs on the mat. So if you set that off, he come behind you, slap your back of your foot with a bamboo stick.
Oh, wow.
And that's how hard it was. Like, when we conditioned, we used to go, hands up, literally like Rocky. Start punching each other in the stomach. And, like, you need to be able to take a punch. I remember when he did the face. I hated that face. Slap him back and forth for 20 minutes. You don't stop. And that's it. He used to bring what we used to call a class boulder out. Push it out. It was on wheels. You go there, start hitting your hands on it. He goes, when do we stop? Did I tell you to stop? Like, no. Till I tell you to stop. Like, next minute, 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, come back. I'm like, you guys can stop now. I'm like, he used to crank the heat up in the summer. And then you have a thick heat. Think of it as like carpet almost you're wearing.
Yeah.
And you're running in circles, doing your exercise, like, and you're dripping, and you're literally like waterfall off your face. And he goes, it's kind of hot in here. Seriously, dude, no shit, it's hot in here. He's wearing a nice thin uniform. He's good, but he's the teacher. Yeah, right. Sensei, no sensei kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But here's one thing I want to touch base. You said about Dana White. Dana White puts some great fights. I'll give him that. But some of the fights in the UFC, and maybe it's me, you thought, shit, I think that person's going to fight. It's like, it makes you think, you knew for a fact that person's going to win that fight. They lose. Again, it's fighting. Anything can happen in combat sports. We know that.
Right.
But do you think that sometimes some of these fights are a little rigged?
Rigged in the sense that it's not like wrestling where the outcome is predetermined, but I think it's rigged in the sense that he's setting up the outcomes that he wants. If that makes sense. Yeah. It's the matchmaking is such where, and the one thing I really, especially when Brock Lesnar joined UFC, that's when it really kind of turned me off, because the one thing with boxing is that typically you have to go up the ranks, so to speak. You fight in a, whatever sanctioning body or whatever, you move up the ranks, you get to a record, you have 15 or 20 fights before you have your first either national title fight or world title fight or whatever. But there's a process. You stand in line, you wait for the thing to materialize by keep winning, looking impressive or whatnot, having people talk about you and getting the notice of the media and the ranking bodies and whatnot. Dana, for me, it was almost like wrestling. Like he was like selling you the aura of somebody. But did they earn the right to be in the ring? I mean, Brock Lesnar got a title fight after like his second fight. He lost his first one, I think for the Frank Mir or something like that, and then he won the rematch or something like that, and he became like UFC champion. It's like guys been toiling for years, and for him to get that, just say, you know what, all those guys, you've been doing work or whatever. Sorry, I'm gonna go with this guy because he's a name, and I'm gonna give him the shot. I'm gonna just leapfrog everybody. I mean, to me, that's just not cool. With me. So, but I think certainly he put him in a position to where he could to where he could, milk that for whatever was worse. Ronda Rousey, same thing. I mean, yeah, she's coming from a judo background for the most part, but was she as good as the elites? No, but she had an aura. It's just like I said, just like WWE. I mean, she was a character, and then once she faced somebody who was like really legit, then it was pretty easy, and she was exposed a certain. So I think there's definitely an aspect of him who he builds up these people and he throws it in your face, and but is the outcome determined? Like I think he would love it if Conor McGregor was still a top fighter, but he hasn't won a fight in like 7 years. I mean, think about that.
Yeah, I was actually about to bring his name up actually just now because he was one of the top dogs at one time.
Yeah, and he still is. If he brings him back for a fight, if he decides to fight again, he's going to make $20 million. And especially given the fact that most MMA fighters don't make what most boxing guys do. Like if you're a top MMA fighter, you make like $250,000 with some perks and some benefits and stuff. But it's not like you're making $10 million being an MMA fighter. Very few guys get that. McGregor got that, and maybe John Bones Jones may have gotten something close to that. But again, with Dana, it's all about the marketing and who's getting in the seats and who's going to buy the pay-per-views. Regardless of your record, regardless of your ability, he's going to get he's going to get those that's his business model, so to speak. And certainly for him to get the outcome that he wants, he'll put guys in there that don't even deserve it. That guy Covington, who's basically a MAGA guy or whatever, the guy hasn't won in years, but because he's good at running his mouth, just like Chael Sonnen and these guys, they because they can talk and they get people upset, they just want to see him beat. It's like, oh, I got to get this guy in the ring, even though he's going to lose. He's like, I got to get this guy in the ring because he puts butts in the seats, because at the very least, people want to see this guy get beat. So I'm going to give the people what they want in that regard. So, like I said, the business model, a little different, but I like seeing, again, the best fighting the best. And even in boxing, it's getting a little ridiculous now with those twin brothers with their boxing exhibitions. The guys in WWE also, I forget the twins. I forget their names.
The Usos?
No. These are like social media guys, but they have these boxing matches. But they've also been in WWE also. The brothers.
I know who you're talking about. Shit. Let me look it up right now. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean those guys. I mean, for those guys to make more money than world champions. I think there's something wrong with the practice that doesn't reward those who put in the work, who are good when they fight. I mean, great performances, clearly superior to these guys, but you put them in with these guys, and but somehow those guys, I think the Paul brothers, Jake Paul and his brother.
CQ just put it as Jake, and he's put it in the chat. Thank you, CQ. My
Logan. Yeah, bubble. I mean, it's these are YouTubers essentially who I guess built a following, and people they fight people who, and most of the guys they fight, they're not even legit fighters. I think recently, I think one of the brothers fought one of Tyson Fury's. I think Tyson Fury's nephew and lost. And whatnot. I think another guy just fought but it's either someone over the hill or it's someone from MMA who's not a true boxer. And that's one thing, boxing and MMA is totally different. So again, they talk about being an MMA striker. You're clearly not of the level nor the capacity of someone who actually boxes. A boxing strike is not an MMA strike. And so, so they load the game in order to manipulate an outcome that's to their liking and to their favor. But if the best fight the best, then that's something that I seldom see. And again, that's another reason why MMA really doesn't do it for me. And one thing I'm always asking people, especially if you're an MMA fan, I'm always asking, Name a memorable MMA fight from 10 years ago, or 20 years
Good
ago,
point.
or 30 years ago. When it first came out, UFC, when it used to be like Bloodsport, essentially, when it first came out, that was like when you had the judo guys fighting the Wing Chun guys and all that, and it was just like before they sort of standardize it. But there's very few of those. Whereas I remember Hagler Hearns, I remember Ali Frazier, I remember Sugar Ray Leonard Duran, I remember Mike Tyson fighting Michael Spinks. I mean, boxing has a much more romantic history. Even in fights that I was too young to see. I mean, obviously, like I said, the Ali Frazier fight, I was too young to see it, but I've seen it dozens of times. The whole Ali Frazier trilogy, I've seen dozens of times. Joe Louis knocking out Max Schmeling, again, countless times. So again, I think there's boxing, leaves a better impression on you, whereas like MMA feels like it's like junk food, it's like candies, it's sweets. It's good for the moment, but then once it's gone, and you're not going back and revisiting it again. So yeah, I'm not. If someone wants to debate MMA versus boxing, if you want to do that in a future show, I can certainly.
I have it planned already.
So I could certainly come in and give my perspective on that. Again, shout out to the people who actually train in it. I mean, mixed martial arts and whatnot. I have nothing but the highest respect for the discipline of what these guys do. To be in the sport that they're in. But
here's a couple of feedback on some of your stuff. You said Brock Lesnar, first of all. I think he has one of the best agents, whoever his agent is, or he knows the right people. Because it doesn't matter what company he works for, he gets a golden spoon in his mouth every time, or in his ass. Now he finally got in trouble because of the whole sex thing going on with WWE. Yeah. If it wasn't for that, he would still get what he wanted. He's a part-timer, has been pretty much, who he's not relevant anymore. He's like, I can't even put him on a Rock level because the Rock actually does a little better work than he does.
Right.
But he gets away with it. I remember when he lost, The Undertaker lost a streak against him. I go, why him? Why?
Yeah.
It makes no goddamn sense to him. You want to put somebody over the next body. Maybe Roman at the time, because before he became WWE, freaking 5-10 years Ultimate Champion, whatever he is now.
Right.
Or anybody but him. And he even questioned, like, why him? It's good for the business. How? I really feel like Vince has lost his shit years ago, and some of this is stupid. Now, with the Paul brothers, I seen Jake's fights. Some of them are actually not that bad fights, but again, they're nobodies, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, how can you really prove so? Logan, who wrestles WWE, his matches are not bad, believe it or not. And like I remember when he actually did a springboard off the top rope and close hand ricochet. That was a good. You had timed that perfectly. Some of his stuff is actually good. I gotta give him credit. I didn't know that actually they were friends.
And they're great on the mic. I mean, I got to give them credit for that also. I mean, they are able to move the crowd, which again, from a wrestling perspective, that's a major part of it. And like I said, I think MMA is very similar in terms of how Dana does it. It's about your mic skills have a lot to do with your earning power as well. I mean, Conor McGregor has proven to be an average fighter at best, and I don't even know if even his with his interests. I mean, he's got personal issues outside the ring. He's got lawsuits. All the stuff that he did, especially when he fought Magomedov. I mean, he's not. He's a shell of who he is. Like I said, he hasn't won a fight like in 7 years. But again, he knows how to, as they used to call it in wrestling, he knows how to generate heat.
Yeah.
When there's a press conference, he owns it. He picks fights with the guy he's fighting. He picks fights in the audience. He knows how to stoke the crowd in order to get a reaction. And again, from that perspective, I can understand why Dana or Vince or whatever. I mean, the way in those worlds how those things work. But at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily good for boxing. When Jake Paul was knocking out basketball players, I mean, that's dangerous stuff. I mean, literally, you can kill somebody with that. I'm sorry, delete
easily.
I'm sorry.
Easily. If you hit him the wrong,
So I'm like, so this is like, I'm not a fan of like the celebrity boxing matches, the intergender boxing matches.
I don't like those either, to be honest with you.
The all of that stuff. I'm like, you're playing with your life here. No, the human head is not meant to be hit. It's just not. And so, for these guys to just look at this as, just to make some money, I'm very much, again, I'm a bit of a purist. Well, I think those who I was saying this, in another area last night, I was saying about journalism, for example.
I was there for that part.
If you were going to be in journal, everyone thinks they're a journalist today, and you're not. And so, I think people should be seeking journalists for news and information, not just who you found on social media or YouTube or Instagram, whatever. And same thing with boxing. It's, just because you can talk a good game and you get in the ring and either you're going to get yourself hurt or you're going to hurt somebody who should never have been in there. And then you have all these ex-athletes, all these ex-football players, basketball players thinking, okay, I can't play the game anymore, so I might as well get into boxing. No, boxing is not something that you should just
it's worse.
Get in.
Okay, so
just get into boxing.
Here's my thing. If you're not a boxer, don't get in the ring. If you're not a martial artist, don't get in the ring. I think it should be definitely a cutoff age limit when you get into that stuff, because your head is not supposed to get hit that much. Let's be straight up. Think about how many times they hit it. Now, even football players are having the same problem. I don't know what it's called.
Well, it's a CTE and whatnot. But
that's what I was
in boxing,
looking
for. But punch drunk. They used to call it punch drunk.
Yeah.
And you see these guys, and again, I mean, the heartbreaking thing. I mean, what happened to Muhammad Ali and other fighters that I've seen where they can't speak anymore. They get, they slow down. Their speech is slurred. They're just not there from taking all that abuse, in the ring. And it's just like, man, it's So who participates in it? I think you need to be very careful in terms of who you allow to be part of it. And so the celebrity stuff, or just guys just trying to make a name for themselves or whatever by talking about people, or I'm just not like I said, I don't even like a lot of exhibition stuff anymore. Guys in their 40s and 50s. Mike Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr. and they're both like 50 plus years old. I'm like, I don't need to be doing that.
No,
let us remember you for who you were, and the great fighters that you were. But guys getting in there, I'm not a fan of that.
Let me ask you a question now, Paul. Between us and the fans, do you think boxers should wear headgear?
No. And again, I got this from Mike Tyson, his old trainer Cus D'Amato. He wasn't a fan of headgear. The only time he would use it would be in sparring, and only in sparring if you had like an injury, like you had a cut eye or ear injury or something like that. But headgear, and I think in general, again, if you want to be pure about it, and the same thing for martial arts as well. If you really want to be pure about it, the human mind, the nature is such where if you have a headgear, you think you can take a shot. And the reality is, more times than not, you're going to be taking more shots because you got a headgear on. So training without a headgear makes you more cognizant of what you're doing, of the situations, of your distance, of your spacing, of your timing. So I'm not a fan of it. Now, again, if you talk about like young kids, 8-year-olds in the PBA league or something like that, put helmets on them. But in a professional setting, no, not really. And even I was good to see that even on the amateurs, the last Olympics, I noticed that those guys weren't wearing headgears anymore. And so I'm kind of glad that they went to that, because again, it's I think a headgear gives you a false sense of security. But if you're talking about fighting, and especially if you want to talk about, um, like fighting in the street or whatever, I mean, because that's the thing. In fact, I wanted to follow up and ask you about was, have you had a lot of either tournament experience or street fighting experience with your martial arts? Because I mean, that's something that I think most people, again, you can't, so having a headgear is not going to prepare you for those other endeavors. Also, if God forbid you never will have to, but you may find yourself in that situation. So a headgear, what's the point of having it on?
So it's funny you say this. I'll tell you why. My instructor believes you're going to learn everything.
Mm-hmm.
White belt learns black belt techniques. Black belt learns white belt techniques again. Mm-hmm. And my black belt, you say, why? I know this shit. You need to remember it. So when you're in the street and you are in a situation, you need to defend yourself. You know, wait, come back when I get my black belt. I will know the technique. Not going to happen.
Right.
I always tell everybody, always check your surroundings, see what's going on, number one. Number two, can you defend yourself safely without getting yourself killed? You're going to get hurt defending yourself no matter what. Not if it's going to be, it will happen. Because you're going to get banged up pretty good. Can me and you agree on that, Paul?
Yeah.
I never had to defend myself in a street situation. But on the mat, yes, I had to defend. We were running drills like somebody would grab you from the back. I said, you don't know what happens. And like I walk in the dojo one day, hey, sensei, bow to him, give him respect. Whoop, somebody grabs me immediately. They'd finish it on the spot. It always started once you walk through his doors. People knew what was going on. I knew it weeks over it. And like, as an instructor, I'm like, okay, we're going to grab her. And like, we grabbed her, pinned her on the ground, like a rape situation. And next thing you know, she had to defend herself.
Right.
Simple. We always did this with real life. My martial arts, that's what I like about Master Ray, is he wanted his style. He took things out of the style from the karate part and kung fu part that made no sense.
Right.
Like, this is not really a self-defense. Like nunchucks, he goes, how often are you going to carry nunchucks around with you? I go, oh. He goes, probably never. He goes, but a stick. Ooh, a stick, you get some damage, he goes. Okay, yeah, you can find a stick anywhere, actually. Let's be honest here. Okay, I'll give you that. Okay. Then I went to a bow staff. Oh, I can give you a lot of reasons to have a bow staff comes in handy, he goes to me. Okay? Go ahead, old man. He goes like, I hate being called old, he goes to me. A bow staff can be anywhere. Think about it. You might be sweeping.
A broomstick, yeah, right?
There, everybody was going. Mopping. I'm like, okay, he has a good point there. I'm like, okay, and when he took out, we learned it if we asked for it, like sides. And like, what's the point of a side? He goes, you're not going to carry it with you. You're not going to have one. Like, hang on. Okay, let's go. And like, this is not a Ninja Turtles. He goes, realistically, what are we going to use it for?
Right.
That's what I went to him. Like, they're cool to use. And I asked him to learn me that. And I did, when I had become black belt. Stuff I didn't learn, I could go back and ask him and learn something. Like a sword. He took that thing right out. I'm like, when are you going to carry a sword with you? He goes to me. Yeah. Never. So that is no point to have it.
Right. Although, what about blades?
Blades, we did knife techniques. We always
did that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Defense and offense. So we did we did do those because those are realistically like a lot of people carry knives with them. Like depends on your line of work. Like you might have one with you all the time. It's like you need to know how to use it before it comes out of your hands. You don't know what can happen.
Okay. Now, real quick, just a side note, because I know we may talk about this in a future show, but what is like knives or weapons policy in Greece? Are you allowed to carry a knife publicly, own firearms?
Firearm is very hard to get in Greece. It's a strict policy. You have to go through a psycho violation first. First, you have to go in the military, number one. And I mentioned that before. Then you have to apply through your permit through the police department. If you get approved, great. Most likely you will get approved first. But then you have to pass the psycho violation. If you pass that psycho, great. You're not done yet. Now you got to take the course. You take the course. First the safety course, then his shooting course. You probably went through in the military, but they want you to do it again. And I think that's it. I don't know the whole laws because I was too young. I own a firearm back then. I'm gonna look into it before we get to that show. That is a good question, actually. But knives and like that, people do carry knives, but they're really like kind of like work only. Nobody use them for anything like that.
Okay.
But there've been cases people pull their knives and stab somebody or something like that. I'm not gonna deny that.
Yeah.
It always depends where you live. If you live in the country, they're more lenient for you to get a permit versus, Athens, for example. You know what I'm saying? Because you need to be able to go hunting or defend yourself because the cops are not going to be there in 5 minutes. Like here, where I live in Poconos, it might take 20, 30 minutes sometimes.
Yeah.
So, actually, not in Strasbourg, but when I lived in Mount Pocono. Let me use that better example. So, before we move on, Paul, I know you said you wanted to bounce at 11. You want to continue or you want to bounce?
Yeah. If you have a final question or you want to follow, we can go through that and then wrap it up.
Anything you want to finish up? Or we're going to call it a night?
No. This is good. Again, this was pretty dynamic. How this spun in. Definitely, I'm looking forward to another show where we can talk about again combat sports, again martial arts or boxing versus MMA or whatever. I would certainly look forward to having a dialogue with someone who wants to tackle that on. We talked a little bit about the streaming services. My thing is, the only frustrating thing about streaming services for me has been I've been kind of eclectic when it comes to movies I want to watch. I don't watch a lot of new stuff, but there are times when I want to watch something. It could have been a movie from the 80s, it could have been from the 90s or whatever, something I just want to watch. And the frustrating thing is I have access to 3 streaming services. I have Netflix, I have Amazon. I think one of my daughters has Hulu or something like that. And a lot of times I can't find the movie that I'm looking for on any of those channels. I mean, I'm talking about like movies from the 60s or what have you. So, and have HBO Max also. That for me is the frustrating thing for any streaming service. You would think, and a lot of times the streaming services, they will have movies like in rotation. You know what I mean? So a movie may be on for a minute and then it's no longer available after a certain time. They host a movie for a minute and then they circulate it out. So that's something, I still haven't found any service to really give me what I want. That's why, for me, the service that has what I want to watch wins that day. And then I may have a different opinion the next time. But like I said, I watch a lot of, like I said, classic movies from the 60s, 70s, Apocalypse Now from the 70s, or really good, a lot of those Cold War movies from the 60s, like Failsafe or Ice Station Zebra or something like that. Like I'm really into that period of movies, those Cold War movies from the 80s. And, a lot of times I can't find them unless I rent it, so like I can go to Amazon or YouTube or whatever, and I can rent the title, but I'm already paying whatever it is, $10, $15 a month for the service. And a lot of times I can't find the title that I'm looking for. So that's the frustration with all of these services, that there's no real true video on demand or some catalog that keeps all the titles in one place, and I could just pay for it and say I just watch it when I want to watch it.
So this is a challenge question for CQ. If he's still in the chat, I want him to see if he can answer that before us, because I'm not sure. But what I will say is, I was in the same situation. It was a movie I was looking for. I can tell you the exact movie. Psychics. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
One of my favorite martial art movies. It was
right
with Chuck Norris. Couldn't find it anywhere. I found a really bad copy on YouTube. Did a job. But later on, I found it on Amazon. I'm one of the few people lucky who was smart. I get Prime for free because I got the credit card when they first start releasing the Amazon credit card. Right. And that was the promo. There was, you get a credit card, you get free Prime. So how long does that
forever?
Pretty much.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't pay anything. They don't have that promo anymore. So
Right.
if try to get a credit card, like people, are like, I'm gonna get a free program. I'm like, not gonna happen anymore. And like, so now they're bitching. So now I got a credit card and I got to pay for that. I'm like, I
Yeah.
told you it doesn't work like that anymore. I'm like,
Right.
like somebody I know has all free streaming services with his cable company. He's one of the few people I know that's lucky with that. Just say I'm not throwing any names out there, but
Mm-hmm.
if my cable company tell me I'll pay for all these streaming company, so I'm like, okay, sign me up. Then I'll be a fair deal.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them don't do that. They don't want you to stream service.
Right.
They want you on their stuff.
Right. And another thing, this will sort of be my close. I mean, I think certainly you got to get to a point where you have to add up all of the the charges, right? Because one thing with the cable, I mean, yes, you would get
It gets expensive fast.
Your cable, your premium channels and things of that nature, and you think that you're making out cheaper with a streaming service, but once you add them up, if you have Netflix and Max, and I have YouTube TV, so because now what I really like about YouTube TV is that it allows for multiple watchers at the same time. Mm-hmm. So YouTube supports up to 3 independents. So again, one of my daughters or my wife or whatever, you can watch independently and not worry about bumping someone off. So they allow up to three simultaneous views and up to 5 accounts total, which is good for my family because we're a family of 5. But when they first started out, it was like really good. Okay, $49.99 a month.
I remember that.
But then they started creeping up the price. Now it's like $65, and if you want the 4K service, that's like another $10 and whatnot. So you take that, plus you still have to pay for internet. So internet, that's a straight charge. That's like close to $100 a month just to get your internet service. Now again, I'll look into what you were talking about T-Mobile, if they got something where I can maybe get something a little bit cheaper than the Verizon, but you're paying $100 just for the cable access, which now I also need for work because I still do a lot of work from home. So I need not only just internet service, but I need a fast, reliable internet. So I got like 100 gigabit service, from to support my my work and everything else I have to do here. So so that I don't think I would change anyway. But you figure what you're paying for that. You add up all the streaming services that you have between the YouTube, the Netflix, the HBO Max, the Hulu, the Disney. You add all that up, and you could wind up paying a lot more than what your cable company was at the end of the day. So you have to be able to count all your costs. And especially in this house, everyone has their favorites. One daughter likes Peacock, another one wants Hulu, another one wants Amazon or whatever. They're all into different lanes, but the at the end of the day, you're not really making out that much better. But certainly they give you a bit more flexibility, because again, with cable, it's based on schedule. I mean, it's like when something's on,
except
you watch it. Yeah, but that's, again, it still has to come on though. So you have to wait for it to come on, and then you DVR it when it comes on. So I think the streaming services give you a bit more instant access. But again, as I said earlier, it depends if they have your title. So if I wanted a movie from, say, 1975, like Rollerball, which I highly recommend, like I said, anybody who wants to watch a movie that predicted the future, Rollerball from 1975 is a good title. But check all of your streaming services that you have access to, and will it be there that you don't have to pay an extra charge in order to watch? I could probably find it on Amazon Prime and download, or certainly YouTube would give it to me, but I'm paying $3.99 or $4 or whatever it is that I have to rent it, and then or I pay extra if I want to keep it. So those are
lose situation, dude.
What's that?
It's a lose situation.
Now it is, yeah. It wasn't initially. I think the lore of it, because I remember because my mom had cable up until she moved out of her place, and I used to have to go there and pay her bill every month. Mm-hmm. And I remember the lines were out the door of people turning in their cable boxes.
Really?
Because streaming was like really starting to take off. So it was about 2012, 13, 14, 15, etc. really start to taper off. But again, it's like it's basic economics. As the demand for streaming goes up, the price goes up. And so now, yeah, it's kind of like, yeah, you move from one to the other, but you have to. Everyone has to really make sure that, again, are you better off than you were when you had cable or what have you? I mean, and then cable themselves, they've had to, pull back, because the thing that used to get me was, my contract, like cable would sign you up and they would give you these deals, right? Oh yeah, first 2 years or whatever, $99 a month flat, no extra. Then afterwards, then it bump up to like double the price or whatever. I'd be like, well, look, can you just renew it? It's like, no, this is only for new customers. Okay, so if I left you today and sign up again next month, you'll give me $99. Yeah, but I'm an existing customer, and you can't give me a better rate to say, look, I got options now. I can leave you. Sorry, we got to charge you. But if I leave you and come back in, you'll let me get back in line again. So everybody's got to sort of, wake up. Business has to wake up and say, hey, you have a lot more players in the game. Make your product more competitive overall and stop the promotional purchases and whatnot. And maybe you may do better. But
so when I had cable, I used to do the same thing what you're saying. But with the company I was Blue Ridge. I used to go with. I used to say, listen, if you don't give me a deal, I'm walking. And I used to break it down to them. And listen, you really want to send a technician out that you have to pay to remove the box, the cable, whatever from the house.
Yeah.
And they could bring it back another next month and pay him the same price. Think about it. They say sign it for a minute, like come back on the phone, like, you know what, sir, we'll give you that deal this one time. Every 6 months or a year, I should do the same thing.
I had was that Comcast?
I
think it was Comcast. And it was like TKR, then it was Comcast, then it was but they Optimum, I think they switched over so many different times. But yeah, they were never that logical with me when it came to those options. So again, ultimately, I wound up walking. I never went back, but again, like I said, when I add up the bill, it's like, oh man, we got 5-6 streaming services and YouTube and internet. It's I'm every once in a blue moon, I may look over there and say, hey, what you guys got going on? To kind of to save money. But I think people, certainly in my household, they like their independence. They like being able to find content when they want it. They like the original shows and specials that a lot of the streaming services offer now, the original content. There's certain streams that they watch and whatnot. So I don't think we're leaving anytime soon with what we have. But it's definitely not the cheap proposition what it was initially sold to be. But that's capitalism at the end of the day. So
see, my big other thing with today's streaming services, mobile. I hate cardio. Be straight up, anybody who knows me, I hate cardio. But I put my phone on the treadmill, watch a movie or a show. It kills time.
Yeah.
My break, I watch what's called it. I'm trying to think of the word right now. I watch a movie usually, or a show, or my Netflix or YouTube.
Right.
You cannot beat the mobile thing. Simple.
Yeah. I hear you. It's it's definitely convenient to watch what you want to watch when you want to watch it. So, but yeah, man, I need to let me bounce here.
Yep.
And
let's close out really fast.
Definitely.
Scheduling really fast, and we're closing out. Tomorrow, gray area, here at 9:30, NBMU channel. Like me and Paul are going to take care of that.
Indeed.
Wednesday, we're doing part 1 of AI, Friend or Foe. Part 2 will be next Saturday. I'm really looking forward to that. I want to see how that will turn out. Part 1, part 2. I'm really interested. Except that, Paul, you got anything else? No, that's it.
No, I'm good. Good chat.
As always, this was Grooming Reviews.